It is Rebirth Day. The new map is here. I'm anticipating a lot of new players to the game, but there's also a ton of changes in the patch notes. I've already gone through all of it, so I want to give you kind of the high level. I was also on a call yesterday, hearing from the devs with some of the goals with where they're going on the new season. I'm going to have a full video actually playing this in a second on the main channel. However, on Moments, I want to go through all of the details with you guys so you have the full overview and can just enjoy it. Of course, Rebirth is the new map. Be relieved, it is the original map that they are bringing back. There's 3 different POIs that have been slightly tweaked. There's like a tunnel, but it's just a linear one-line, small underground, a swim into under a bunker. Very minor changes. The bigger changes to the map that we saw in the trailer are the infill strikes. These are only going to occur after 2 weeks. They're not going to occur for the first 2 weeks. And then there's going to be a chance for them to occur, and they're going to see what player feedback is at these locations to see how often this will actually occur if they just keep it as the original map. There's also a brand new thing. So if you are a new player, they're introducing Warzone Bootcamp. This is going to be 20 players, 24 bots, a much easier mode to kind of get into and get your feet wet in the game. But there is going to be less progression rewards in this. So you're not going to be able to just grind a bunch of levels here against a bunch of bots like we saw with Battlefield 2042 when that came out. Now, Resurgence is the main mode for Rebirth Island. There's going to be 44 players for the public mode, 35 for ranked. We'll get some of the ranked in a bit here, although you can read all the details for that separately for the most part. Vehicles are also not going to be here at the initial launch of Season 3. There's a lot that's going to be missing, including Specialist bonus, which wasn't listed here, but they did mention in the call. That's not going to be here until mid-season, although all of the Easter eggs related to it will be here. Squad play bonus is a massive thing. If you guys are not already in my discord.gg/stonemout64, same as my gamer tag, it is now a better time than ever to join and find people to play with, because just for playing with friends, you get extra battle pass, level, and weapon progression XP, which is the big hurdle in this game. If you also use recommended weapons, which are typically the best weapons in the game, you get extra XP. You also play with at least one friend in your party, outside of just other people in your party, you get extra XP. You leave squad fill on if you don't have a full team, extra XP. You also play again at the end and stay with squad, extra XP. So you can stack a whole bunch, but the basic is play with other people, you will get rewarded for it. And there's even more in a second I'll mention with that for even more XP. They also have a challenge that you can select to track your progress. Do these challenges, get you even more XP, of course. Buy Station Shuffle, this is across all the maps. They've changed the locations of these again. They typically do this for new seasons. The big change, though, is Squad Assemble. So if you land near your teammates, you will get a proximity UAV for supply boxes, which the supply box UAV now just shows boxes through walls, which is incredible. The TAC map only shows you where custom loadouts are, or the big boxes that you really want to see, not all the white boxes that are literally everywhere. Those you can just now see through the wall. Way better, more similar to how Zombies works, if you guys are familiar with that. Also, disabled in ranked, lockdown, and plunder. This is just for the standard game mode, which is typically what I play. The Gulag also is something new. This is for the main map, obviously not for Resurgence, but there's 2 ladders that will be in the game. So if you agree with the other person, you could both climb your ladders and leave the game together. But be careful, you could get betrayed while you're climbing the ladder. You will get extra cash if you do that, though, so that's kind of cool. Now, back to Rebirth Island. This is the new map. This is what you guys are getting ready for. Most of it is the same, but there is some new. Biometric scanners have been added. Once per match, you can go up to these red lights, scan your eye. It will give you a key card. Note that you will get a better key card if you are with your entire squad or the more squad mates you are with. You're going to get a random card. It will carry in your bag, and you take this to a buy station for an extra reward. Some of these can get extremely juicy, but it might just be a free item, discounted item like a fire sale. So the big things is the Polyatomic and the Orion key cards. These will also, whoever has these cards, will be displayed on the smart displays around the map, so keep an eye on those. They'll also tell you what is the high area of traffic where there's a ton of players at, as well as the player with the most kills, so you can kind of be scared if you want to. Spy drones are being added. The big thing you need to know with this new contract is if you see these drones in the air, somebody else could be on the contract. You can steal this one. You know, scavenger contracts, you can't steal those from other people, but this you can. Shoot down the drones. The last one will drop an advanced UAV. There's also staged weapons on this map. If you've played it in the past, you'll be able to find a sniper up in the tower, shotgun down at the bottom. Like, there's specific locations. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can get those 60% chance they mentioned in the call that these will be there. So they're not always going to be there. Squad Rage is a new field upgrade as well. You need to kind of be close to your squad, pop it, and everybody will get a boost to their attack sprint, health regen, etc. Resurgence Champions Quest is always here, and I did get all the dirt on this as well. So it's going to be one long timer that will be progressively decreased as you take action, similar to how normal Resurgence works. You need to have the element in your bag for that timer to go down. So if you kill somebody holding the element, defend that thing. Don't let them pick it up to stop them from getting their nuke. As the timer goes down, it will drop in another element. Timer goes down again, another element, until the bomb site comes down. They plant it, defend it, and it's the usual after that. But it's going to be a matter of them trying to get kills, open boxes, everything to decrease the cooldown timer. Now, they made a lot of changes to the actual loot. Ground loot, they've taken out Molotovs, Thermites, EMD grenades, which haven't been too popular, and they are planning on reworking them, although there is some rework here too. Supply UAV I mentioned earlier. Heavy Chopper's been massively nerfed. The two big things that they mentioned they want rewarded is damaging it with C4, which have been buffed. Joker as well. These are also going to take longer to refill. Semtex's frags, everything does more damage to it in terms of explosives, and it's going to be harder to keep this thing fueled up and keep it in the air. But try and use those two main equipment to take it out. Now, they're adding new weapons. The submachine gun is a super compact, fast fire rate. Probably will enter the meta. The Morse sniper rifle is a sniper that is it's a railgun. So it's from Advanced Warfare. It has a charged up shot attachment that you can put on it for even more damage and penetration. We'll have to see the one-shot capability of it, but I'm always down for a new sniper. It's my favorite way to play the game. There's also the new melee weapon. Tons of new attachments and aftermarket parts that are going to be coming. One of them for the AMR9. This increases speed, ADS. And a conversion kit for the BP-50 to make it a submachine gun. The broadside shotgun making an automatic rifle. They also did mention, I didn't see it in here, but there's Akimbo models. Those things are coming back. The Bruin 9, MK9, this is classic Bruin for MW3 in the game here, will be more like a submachine gun conversion. So a lot of cool options and things coming on the new weapon front. Every week they have weekly challenges that we've been doing that have been awesome to keep us kind of, going with new stuff. Big change into the way that the weapons overall work. They removed the variants of ADS idle sway. So in the past couple seasons, they just made it so when you aim down sight, you go right on point to the middle of the target. You are aiming exactly where you were intending to. It's not already swaying all over the place. Now the pattern of the idle sway will be consistent just as it is. Like recoil pattern is always consistent. Maybe there's some slight variance, but it's always going to be the same pattern that you can learn to counter and control to add to the skill gap of the game, which is really cool. Now, in terms of some of the weapon balances, the Ram 7, even after all of its nerfs, has been insanely still the meta, still super powerful. Now, last time they decreased the damage range, they decreased it a bit more, decreasing the max damage. That's like one of the biggest nerfs. All the stuff that's the most overpowered is getting the most nerf, except the HRM for some reason, which we'll talk about. DG getting a slight nerf, decreasing the sprint to fire speed. I'm not going to read every single one of these, but I highlighted all like the main changes. You can see they're buffing quite a few of the Modern Warfare 2 weapons, although I'm not sure how dramatic some of these are going to be, like a small multiplier to the limbs for the FR Advancer, which is decent, but will it compete? Granted, they've nerfed a lot of the other guns for Modern Warfare 2. For Modern Warfare 3, they've nerfed them down, so that kind of makes the Modern Warfare 2 ones just better by default. You see a lot of the names that have been very popular. The Ram 9 has been my personal favorite submachine gun, even though it's not necessarily the best. Getting a pretty heavy nerf, I got to say, to its damage. The overall thing that I saw with the submachine guns on this was they've decreased the sprint to fire speed on majority of these. That's the only thing they nerfed about the HRM that I had mentioned a second ago. Striker 9 here actually did get somewhat of a buff for the damage range, but slight nerf to the sprint to fire. But, 3,000ths of a millisecond? Or what are we talking about here? Wasp 9, Swarm, but we do have some buffs to the MW2 guns again. MX9, Lockman sub. I feel like this actually has some potential to be meta, but 1 point of damage, a little bit of damage range, it's not that much. I don't see it significantly really impacting a lot. Baspy getting a little love. Bruin MK9, I kind of mixed it here because it did get a damage decrease for the minimum side, which isn't that big of a deal. You still want to do the most damage usually with the upper torso, headshots, etc. But they also decrease the aim down sight speed massively. So I think that's actually going to help quite a bit, especially when you compound it with the other attachments you can put on. The Eradicator was one of the meta guns initially on as well, and they did do a pretty nice buff to it, as well as the Evolveer, somewhat of a buff. Again, going back to some of the MW2 LMGs here, increasing their effectiveness. So I'm going to try them and make some builds for it, and I'll tell you how viable they are. I test them all over on my Plays channel, Stonemount Plays. Now, let's talk a bit about the snipers. The XRK sniper getting another buff. I've actually been loving this. Another slight increase in the aim down sight speed, especially for Rebirth. I think this is going to be your go-to option. The Cat is still going to be very much better because of the one-shot from any range, but out to 80 meters is pretty damn solid with how I built my XRK. All my builds on StoneMount64.com as well, if you're interested in those. The SPX, I still don't think is going to be really great. I've seen a couple of people run this before just, because they're crazy players, crazy ADS speed, but it cannot one-shot. Inhibitor may actually be interesting, but still can't one-shot like even the Signal. I guess that did 299 as well in the past, but we'll see. Renetti pistol, Stinger pistol, little bit of buffs. Don't think it's going to be anything super crazy, but I'll try it. The coolest change, though, for the snipers is the heavy bolts now give you accuracy when you are aiming down sight. So when you first aim down sight, you get that same benefit that all the other guns that I just mentioned have. You will be exactly on target when you aim down sight if you have the heavy bolt on. I usually run the ephemeral for faster rechambering, so I'm going to test this out. But that is very promising for that first shot accuracy, especially for the Cat and on the big map. I think this is going to be huge. They did a lot of stuff to remove the laser visibility when at the hip for weapons, which is kind of cool. And then the Bruin Heavy support, one of my favorite attachments that I use on pretty much everything, because the horizontal recoil control did get a nerf to it. Although it still is a benefit, it has a lot of trade-offs to that attachment, so it'll be interesting. Talking about equipment now, the Semtexes have been the overall master favorite. Love these things. They nerfed them dramatically. The damage radius of it, the damage that it does, and EOD can now prevent a one-shot. I guess maybe not super massive in a lot of that effect, but when you also combo it with a lot of the buffs they made to some of the other things, the Breacher drones, which were my personal favorite when this game came out, they massively actually did increase the radius of this from 3.5 to 10 meters radius doing damage. Although they did decrease the damage that those do, you can still get a two-shot in the inner circle if you throw two drones out for an instant knock on somebody. Although if they're on the outer radius, you're really just going to use it as a hit mark detector. 75 damage, though, not bad. And if you combo it with even two other teammates, you could probably clear an entire room for how big a 10-meter radius is with all those blowing up. Claymores did receive a buff. Molotovs also getting a buff. Drill charges getting a buff, all with the damage that they're doing. The thermal grenade, the one that explodes on fire. Proximity mines. C4. Now, there's a bug with C4. I've thoroughly tested this to the point that I wanted to you throw a C4, it is inconsistent when you do the quick detonate. They don't mention anything about the quick detonation here other than they decrease the delay for it. So maybe this fixes all the problems with it. But there's been, if you try and use the quick delay button by double-clicking reload, it doesn't always work. Sometimes it takes 3 seconds for this to pop. Hopefully that's fixed. Snapshot grenades also got a massive improvement. The outline that stays on is now for 5 seconds. The radius, 15 meters. You do have to remain in line of sight of the target, but the biggest counter is everybody that's sitting in smokes. You throw this counter, it will go through the smoke, and it persists until that player leaves the smoke. And if they keep dropping more smokes down, it chains between all of the smokes. So if somebody's trying to sit through a smoke screen to cross and cover, if you throw a scanner and hit them with it, as long as they're in that smoke for the entire duration they are in the smoke, they will still be highlighted until they get out of it. Something to note if you are sitting in it and do get scanned. I think we're going to see a lot more of the snapshots used. Battle Hardened will counter this too, so that might be a more meta pick for some of the competitive guys. Scouter Mines also got a buff. These things will decrease your movement speed, apply flangeable when you hit in the legs with that certain ammunition, so you can't sprint at all if you get hit by it, so it'll slow people down. It doesn't do really that much damage. It's more of a deterrent and a position revealer, really, than anything for a tactical equipment. It's kind of cool. Maybe we'll see some more use. The Mosquito drone no longer can one-shot. I got so pissed getting one-shot by this one time. It can no longer one-shot. It now has a better visual indicator, so it'll show a ring around where it is going to be affected rather than just an icon that you can't really tell, and sometimes that icon's bugged. They also made an attack delay, so if you shoot it in the air and then before it dives in, it's delayed for 3 seconds rather than half a second. This should make it easier to avoid as well. So interesting balance change. I think it's going to be more fun to use. Armor box has also been nerfed. They only resupply 4 armor instead of 6. Here is all the ranked details as well. The big thing to note is because there's less players in the ranked mode, there's going to be a change to how SR is awarded. It should balance everything out more. We'll see how it actually factors in. I'm sure there's still going to be people grinding 30K plus SR for the top 250. And you do have to be in that top 250 bracket at the end of season to get those rewards. Everything else, they had mentioned if you get to that tier, you're kind of locked into it for the rewards. Resurgence, of course, is going to be on Rebirth. That's the big map that the entire focus is for. There was a couple other bug fixes. Eliminating players will now actually properly drop armor. They've, I believe, said this before and it didn't work still, so we'll see if it ends up being true this time. Rapidly opening the buy station will lock the buy station, so you cannot use it. You have to walk away from it, come back to it. Should hopefully be fixed. And the stowing icon, switching which button you need to push, maybe this was more of a PC issue, should be fixed. These are the big ones that I at least had suffered from or had noticed. But that's it. That's a lot that is coming to Season 3. I wanted to do this faster than I did the last read-through of the blog post. The blog posts are a little bit more worth understanding all the philosophies, everything that they're doing on it. If you want even more details and some of those things, go check out that video that I had just uploaded here on Moments. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to be live today, Stormout64, over on Facebook. And then, of course, videos coming over on Stormout64 YouTube. More videos and gameplays and such will be on Stormout Plays. Thanks so much for watching. That's for this one. Stormout64, over and out.